Tonight on Reporting Scotland, could this be a stinking summer of bin strikes? 3 public sector unions reject the latest pay offer from councils. Residents in Edinburgh are hoping there's no repeat of 2022's strikes.
Before was a really very bad smell and is affecting even our health as well, to be honest. You know, as we couldn't even stand in here and was very bad for everyone.
The First Minister urges both sides to negotiate. Also on tonight's programme. Russell Findlay is the first MSP to announce he'll run to be Scottish Conservative leader. Who's next? We're in Galloway, which could be home to a new national park.
I'm on time more. I wake up early. I got more friends and more people understand me.
Michael and his boss tell us why seeing his ability rather than his disability has helped him and the business. Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Monday's programme. Could we be seeing a repeat of these sorts of scenes this summer? This was Edinburgh at the height of festival season back in 2022 when bin workers went on strike. Today, unions warned of a stinking Scottish summer ahead after members rejected the latest pay offer by councils. If strikes do go ahead, most of the country would be affected. Here's our news correspondent, Jamie McIver.
It's a scene and smell which is hard to forget. The rubbish piled high in Edinburgh 2 years ago, and images like these were seen around the world. Now exactly the same thing could happen again. And today businesses in Edinburgh, which rely on visitors, were dreading the prospect.
I'm shocked and stunned, to be honest. It's the last thing anybody needs around here. I mean, the whole city was affected, not just our business.
Before was a really very bad smell and is affecting even our health as well, to be honest. You know, as we couldn't even stand in here and was very bad for everyone.
This tour guide carried on working as the rubbish piled up.
Never stopped us doing our tours or anything, but it does give a very bad impression, obviously.
And the reason the rubbish could pile high again is exactly the same. A strike by refuse workers and their colleagues. But the disputes over pay for all Scottish council workers, from care workers to librarians. They're being offered a 3.2% rise. All 3 Scottish council unions have dismissed it.
It's not an improved offer, therefore we feel we had no course for taking any other decision bar to reject and not take this to the members.
It doesn't protect frontline workers and it doesn't go anywhere near enough to get towards £15 an hour by 2026, which is what the commitment was made last year.
3.2 doesn't actually cut it when our members have seen the value of their pay drop by 25% over the past 14 years.
Why do we want it?
Last year, council workers went on strike over pay once again, with school staff like janitors walking out. 2 strikes in 2 years, only resolved after the Scottish Government gave money to help. This year, unions say the Scottish Government needs to get involved now, before strikes happen. We put their points to the First Minister.
Well, it's obviously important that local authorities are able to take forward their proper and full responsibility to negotiate with their staff trade unions and to find a way forward. And I would simply encourage everybody to take part in those discussions openly and willingly to find a solution and to avoid any disruption to local authority services.
Council body COSLA calls the pay offer strong, fair and credible and says it's at the limit of affordability for councils. Just where and when strikes will happen will be announced next week. That leaves 3 weeks to prevent scenes nobody wants.
Well, Jamie's here now, and Jamie, I suppose the big question is there any chance of a deal being struck now?
Well, there certainly is 3 weeks to avoid strikes, but it's hard to see how councils can make any significant improvement to the current pay offer unless there's more Scottish Government money available to try to help them. Any pay offer has to be affordable to all 32 of Scotland's councils, and some are in stronger financial positions than others. But as I said, the last time the strikes happened, both in 2022 and 2023, they were only resolved after the Scottish Government helped out and gave councils more money. money. Now, the unions want that to happen now rather than wait for industrial action to begin. So I think a lot's going to depend on how the Scottish Government and councils act over the next few weeks. 3 weeks is certainly a long time, but if bin strikes do happen, the unions will say there's been plenty of warning these strikes could have been avoided.
Well, we will see what the summer holds. Thank you, Jamie. Now, the world of politics is being dominated by leadership changes at the moment, and it is no different here, with the Scottish Conservatives searching for a new leader. Well, today, the party's Justice spokesperson, Russell Findlay, became the first MSP to formally declare he is running to replace Douglas Ross, who announced he was standing down during the general election campaign.
People know that the Scottish Conservatives proudly defend and have defended our place in the United Kingdom. And it's important going forward that we tell people what else we stand for, which is proud Conservative values. We want to reward people for hard work, and we want people to have ambition and aspiration. They're key to what the Scottish Conservatives stand for, and I think it's so important that we communicate that with the public ahead of the 2026 election.
OK, well, let's bring in our chief political correspondent, Lindsay Bewes. Lindsay, Russell Findlay is the first to declare in this race, but he most likely won't be the last, will he?
He won't, Laura, no. Russell Findlay has only been an MSP since 2021. He says he was encouraged to stand for the leadership by several senior credible people in the party, but I do expect other candidates to put their names forward. Some of the names in the mix at the moment include the deputy leader Megan Gallagher, the frontbencher Murdo Fraser and the backbencher Jamie Green, and certainly there will be plenty for them to debate and discuss after the general election, where the Scottish Tories saw their vote share drop down to around 13%. Now, one of the areas of discussion could be the party's future relationship with the UK Conservatives. Now, today Russell Findlay said that while there had been many mishaps when the Conservatives were in government in Westminster, he didn't think that the party should split from the UK party. He did say, however, it had been a mistake for him to endorse Liz Truss to be Prime Minister. And interestingly, he said it was probably now time to ditch the two-child benefit cap, a policy brought in by the UK Tories in power at Westminster. But he said he would need to look at that policy in a bit more detail.
OK, and Lindsay, can you just give us a sense then of what's happening over the next few weeks with this race?
Well, the party is currently consulting on the leadership process. I would expect us to get some more detail on the timetable next week. But I do get the sense from everyone I've spoken to, the Scottish Tories are not in a rush to get this leadership contest done. They want to get the right person in place to lead them into those 2026 Holyrood elections.
OK, Lindsay Bewes at Holyrood. Thank you. The Scottish Government says children will no longer be placed in young offenders institutions by the start of September. The announcement follows the death of a 17-year-old boy in Polmont Young Offenders Institution earlier this month. The BBC understands Jonathan Beadle took his own life in the prison. Well, Katrina Renton has been following the story and is here now. Katrina, just tell us a bit more about this then.
Well, Laura, last week we learned that 17-year-old Jonathan Beadle died in Polmont Young Offenders Institution near Falkirk. Now, he'd been in a children's secure unit before being moved to Polmont. He was convicted after pleading guilty to a charge of acting in a disorderly manner and having weapons with intent to assault and murder a 16-year-old girl. Now, a law that says no child will be held in a youth offenders institution, the Children Care and Justice Scotland Act 2024, received royal assent on the 4th of June this year. Now, the Minister for Children and Young People, Natalie Dawn, said plans are moving at pace to ensure no under-18s are placed in young offenders institutions and will commence no later than during the week of the 2nd of September this year. Now, she said there is also ongoing engagement with partners, that includes the Scottish Prison Service and secure care providers, to enable the transfer of those currently in Polmont. Now, the latest figures for Polmont, there are currently 7 under-18s, that's 16 and 17-year-olds in the institution. I spoke earlier to Fraser McKinlay, who is the Chief Executive of The Promise, the organisation which holds the government to account on keeping their promise to care experienced young people.
It's fair to say that the numbers fluctuate all the time. I understand from some of the reports that last year it was down as low as 2. So I think we've probably had some missed opportunities as well to end the practice of imprisoning and incarcerating children in Polmont. As I say, the imperative now, the absolute focus now has to be on making sure that the remaining children in Portland are transferred out as safely and as quickly as possible.
And Katrina, this is all against a backdrop of a lot of issues at Polmont, isn't it?
Well, that's right. There have been 2 fatal accident inquiries held this year into the deaths of 3 young people who took their own lives in Polmont. A joint inquiry was held into the deaths of 16-year-old William Brown, who is also known as William Lindsay, and 21-year-old Katie Allen. Now, William was only in Polmont as there were no spaces in a secure children's unit when he took his own life in 2018. 21-year-old Katie Allen took her own life in the months before William. She was convicted for drink driving. The inquiry heard that she was bullied in prison. Jack Mackenzie, who was 21 and accused of rape and sexual assaults, took his own life 3 years later in 2021. Now, Sheriff Simon Collins has heard both of these inquiries, and he's expected to issue determinations and recommendations to try and stop this from happening again. He's expected to deliver that determination later this year. Of course, Jonathan Beadle has since passed away, and there will be a fatal accident inquiry held into his death in due course.
OK, Katrina, thank you. To some of the day's other stories now. A 55-year-old woman has been arrested in an investigation into a funeral directors where ashes are alleged to have gone missing. The firm, A. Milne Funeral Directors, is also being investigated by police over allegations of financial mismanagement. Officers said they searched residential properties in Springburn and Bishop Briggs and seized a number of relevant items. The woman has been released pending further investigation. A cricket club says football fans shouted racist and homophobic abuse at players during a match in Edinburgh. Murrayfield Daffs Cricket Club had to abandon the game against Stewart's Melville on Saturday. They claim police did not take action against Rangers and Manchester United fans who were walking to a nearby match. Police Scotland are investigating but say they did not receive any complaints about officers. And trains between Edinburgh and Glasgow were delayed earlier after a herd of cows wandered onto the railway line. Network Rail said teams were set to deal with the 12 animals on the track near Lenzie in East Dunbartonshire. They thanked passengers for their patience and said the cows had now been safely removed. Now, Scotland already has 2 national parks, but will this be the next one? It is lovely Galloway, and it has just been selected as the preferred site. A further consultation is still to take place, but if the area is given the official designation, it'll be the first new national park here in more than 20 years, as our environment correspondent Kevin Keane reports.
From coast to hilltop, there's no doubt this area swells with natural beauty, but convincing people to turn left at Gretna has long been Galloway's problem. Here in Gatehouse of Fleet, the tourists say it's worth the detour.
I wanted to do something just a little different, but still in Scotland.
Oh, I think it's beautiful. It's just like going back in time. You know, it's just the way it used to be.
Aye, you're right.
At the boutique shops, the national park would be welcomed as a boost for tourism.
It would absolutely put Galloway on the map. Obviously, Scotland is vast, and to be able to get a taste of Scotland and the nature associated to that, while still being accessible to sort of major rail routes and things, is going to be of benefit to us.
At the local coffee shop, trade is already brisk, but the owner hopes national park status will solve other problems too.
That's sort of housing for young people, housing for people who already live here. I think we need to see more infrastructure investment and more sort of jobs, full-time jobs that pay well for people here as well.
The Galloway bid was one of 5 submitted for national park status. It'll now be subject to a consultation before a final decision by Parliament next year.
It's very distinct in its own right. When you look at the importance of agriculture here, of forestry, the dairy industry here, it has a very distinct and unique character, which is why, I think the national park status can really help to enhance that further.
The team have been trying to secure national park status for 8 years, so today's announcement comes as a welcome boost.
It puts Galloway on the map, so people know where it is, that it exists, and a national park has that brand which is national and international, and it will bring people to the area.
Come on. Come on.
Not everyone is overjoyed. John is one of many farmers who are worried it'll be overburdensome.
The conditions that may be attached in a national park area
would be our biggest worry. And the uncertainties that it brings, and we have enough uncertainties in farming because we have a long-term planning process in farming.
The bid was community-led. Nature Scott's consultation will now consider the remit of the park, whether it commands wider support, and the extent of its boundaries.
Well, Kevin is in Gatehouse of Fleet in Galloway for us this evening. And Kevin, what is the feeling there then about this proposal?
Well, Laura, there are certainly lots of smiling faces around the Galloway area today at the prospect of a new national park. This here is already a fairly thriving small town, but the possibility of attracting more tourists here, spending their money in the local economy, perhaps over a larger part of the year, is certainly being welcomed, as long as that comes with improvements to local infrastructure, in particular to local roads, to cope with any extra visitors that might descend on this area as a result of there being a national park. Now, being a national park will attract additional funding. There's extra cash that goes to the Loch Lomond and the Trossachs National Park and the one in the Cairngorms, but the Minister keen today to emphasise that that funding will be within the constraints, the financial constraints that they are operating under. Now, this consultation that will be carried out now by Nature Scott will seek to determine to what degree there is widespread support in the area for a national park. We already heard there some concerns raised by local farmers, and other people, of course, have raised concerns as well. The bid team and the Minister keen for this to be a park that is done with the full cooperation of the local community rather than imposed upon them, and so I think there are to be some fairly delicate negotiations taking place over the next 9 months.
OK, Kevin Keane in Galloway, thank you very much. Scotland has the UK's highest disability employment gap. That's the difference in the employment rate of disabled people and people who are not disabled. There were around 250,000 long-term sick or disabled people not working here last year, but around 50,000 of them looking for work. Ian Hamilton has been to one business that revamped its hiring processes.
I'm basically scanning the bags and watching the screen, and then after that you basically push them away and someone else wash them.
ACS is a clothing company in North Lanarkshire. 15% of their workforce have a disability. Michael Warren is one of them. He has a learning disability and has been employed here for years.
I can't read properly on items and all that, or a piece of paper, if someone tells me to read, I can't read properly. And write stuff, I can write a little bit, but not much stuff.
Only half of people with a disability or long-term health condition are employed in Scotland. 250,000 of them are classed as being economically inactive. About 50,000 of those people say they want a job.
I'm more excited to go to work. I'm on time more. I wake up early. I got more friends and more people understand me.
Do you think more people with learning disabilities and other disabilities could be in work?
If they can do the stuff, yes, they can.
So right now we're on the mezzanine, which is right in the centre of the main factory.
Michael's employer, ACS, saw a decline in their workforce after Brexit. They responded by revamping their recruitment and hired more people with disabilities.
There's been a lot of benefits. First thing is, I think we're a more tolerant, more balanced organisation. I think a lot of people identify that we're doing good. The other thing as well is it's helping our business to grow. We were struggling, as a lot of businesses are struggling to get people to come into their business recruitment. So we're actually creating a sort of talent reservoir.
Good boy. Economist Kirsty McFadgen from the Fraser of Allender Institute explains that the picture of disability employment is complicated.
What we're actually seeing is that more people are reporting disability than before, but those people were already in work. So it's kind of those people that are already closer to the labour market are then reporting that they are disabled. And we've seen that particularly in terms of mental health and things like ADHD and autism.
Michael secured the job with an employer who saw his abilities, not his disability.
They help you, the team members and the bosses, understand your learning, what you have, and they will show you a different way how to do stuff.
Ian Hamilton, reporting Scotland.
OK, let's get tonight's sport now with Amy. Hello.
Hi, Laura. The new football season is almost upon us. Hi there. Rangers will face either Dynamo Kyiv or Partizan Belgrade in the third qualifying round of the Champions League. So here is confirmation of Rangers' draw. Now, if they progress, the Ibrox side will have to win another two-legged tie to get into the Champions League group stage, and if they lose, they'll drop into the group stage of the Europa League. Two other Scottish clubs were drawn out the hat today. Kilmarnock are at home to Cercle Bruges in the Europa League on Thursday. The winner of that tie will play either Molde of Norway or Silkeborg of Denmark. St Mirren, on the other hand, head to Iceland on Thursday to play the first leg of their Conference League qualifier against Valor. The go-ahead Eagles from the Netherlands or SK Brand from Norway await the winners. Well, St Mirren have been hard at work preparing for their trip to Iceland. It's the first time the club will compete in European competition in 37 years. And manager Stephen Robinson is determined to progress beyond the first hurdle.
In recent years, the Scottish teams maybe haven't progressed as much as we should have done. And that's always a challenge at this time of season when people are in the midst of their season. You have to sort of bridge that gap as well. But there's no excuses. We don't face the usual European problems of potentially really long flights. It's an hour and 55 minutes. Extreme heat. Iceland's similar weather to ourselves, maybe even colder, which is incredible. And the food's great. So there's no excuses. We're going to a country that we're well aware of, to play a team that we know their strengths and weaknesses and we have a lot of respect for. But we go into the game with real hopes.
Well, as the dust or sand settles in Troon following the 152nd Open Championship, this year's winner, Xander Schauffele, has described Scotland as feeling like a second home as he celebrates winning his second ever major.
That walk-up 18 truly is the coolest, with the yellow leaderboards and the fans and the standing ovation. It really is the coolest, one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my life. Going to go all out like Bob McIntyre did a week ago, or is it going to be maybe a bit more low-key? Yeah, that was an incredible win for Bob, and I don't know if I'm going to have as much of it as an embrace, not being Scottish, but I have my whole family, most of my team here, and I'm just curious to see what my dad's going to pick as a first drink to drink out of this.
It's great what Bob and Ewan have done and are doing currently. They're playing some amazing golf and doing it on the biggest stage. That's something I aspire to do, and I think they're inspiring a lot of us. Not just me, a lot of up-and-coming junior golfers and golfers around Scotland. So I hope it gives us a push and we can get some more Scottish winners out there.
Let's hope so. Well, to cricket now, in Scotland have hammered Oman in their latest World Cup League Two match, with debutant bowler Charlie Castle taking an incredible 7 wickets for just 21 runs in Forfar. Castle struck with his first 2 balls, going on to complete a 3-wicket maiden over as Oman were bowled out for 91. Scotland made light work of the run chase, cruising to victory in the 18th over. They finish off this group of games against Namibia on Wednesday. Yes, what a start for Charlie Castle there.
Yeah, good news for cricket fans and golf fans then at the moment,
Absolutely.
isn't there? Thanks, Amy. OK, now let's go over to Andrew Black to find out what's happening on the BBC Scotland channel at 9 o'clock.
Tonight, Kamala Harris is the front-runner to succeed Joe Biden as Democratic presidential nominee, but will she face any challengers? Here, more than 36,000 people are said to have left NHS dentists to go private. We'll ask one of them what needs to change. And we're speaking to the former footballer who ran, kayaked and cycled his way from Land's End to John O'Groats 3 times in memory of his baby daughter. See you at 9.
And now Christopher is here with the weather, and it looks like Orkney was the place to be today.
Yeah, lovely picture actually from Orkney earlier. Some sunshine. For many of us, though, it was rather cloudy. A bit more sunshine on the cards tomorrow, though, Laura.
Good.
Thank you very much. Very good evening to you. Yes, we had a lot of cloud around today. The sun did break through the cloud at times, but we've also seen a number of showers. This is the rainfall radar from the last few hours. Some really heavy ones developing towards the northeast or Aberdeenshire, a few more across the southern uplands there. So a few showers still to come over the next few hours, perhaps a little bit of rain in towards the far southwest, but generally overnight it becomes dry and clearing skies from the northwest as well. So temperatures down to 8 degrees in Stornoway, some sheltered glens across the Highlands 4 or 5. Elsewhere though, in towns and cities, 11 or 12 is the overnight low. Now to tomorrow, you can see we've got this sort of ridge in the pressure sequence there, a ridge of high pressure, and that will afford us a dry and bright day. Initially cloudy in the east with a few showers, then improving. And for many areas, it's a decent day of weather tomorrow. Dry, bright, sunny and warm. Up to around 22, maybe 23 Celsius. You can see a speckling of showers here and there, certainly across the southern uplands in towards the Braes of Angus. Most of us probably will miss them. If you avoid the showers, in the sunshine, not too bad at all. Always that bit cooler around the coast and across the Isles. There will be some fair weather cloud bubbling up, but all told, not bad. Plenty of evening sunshine to come tomorrow evening as well. And then looking ahead towards Wednesday, that ridge of high pressure just about holding on, you can see, but also cloud and weather fronts moving in off the Atlantic. So it's still a decent day of weather on Wednesday. Some early brightness and sunshine, then cloud tending to build from the west and southwest. Showery rain in towards Ayrshire, through parts of Argyll in towards the Highlands and moving northeastwards. Best of the prolonged sunshine likely in the far north and northeast. Temperatures still into the low 20s at times. So Tuesday and Wednesday, two reasonable days of weather really. For the end of the week through Thursday and Friday, we can see more in the way of weather fronts on Thursday. That means outbreaks of rain. And as we head through towards Friday, returning to something just a little bit drier. But tomorrow, some sunshine. Laura.
Way! Thank you, Christopher. Now tonight's main news again. 3 public sector unions reject the latest pay offer from councils, which means Scotland could be in for a summer of bin strikes. Russell Findlay has become the first MSP to announce he'll run to be the leader of the Scottish Conservatives. And Galloway has been picked as the preferred site for the UK's next national park. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. I will have your late news around 10:30 tonight. Until then, from everyone in the team right across the country, enjoy your evening. Good night.